And welcome everyone to another Logan Community Starcraft event. This game is the first of the MSL Code A semifinal, or winners bracket finals. And casting with me tonight, we have my good friend Nibbling.
Hello world.
Perfect. So here we are on Cloud Kingdom for this winners bracket finals. Here in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the pink Zerg player, Uncia, fighting, of course, this orange Protoss player, Stefanovich. Now, both of these players advanced to the winners bracket finals through the semifinals with very close 3-2 victories over their opponent in the best-of-5 series. So I'm going to be really excited to see exactly how this matchup kind of plays out, as they were both very close to their competitors getting all the way into this matchup. So one of the other things, Cloud Kingdom, it's a good old standby. It's a map that's been around for a while. It's one that you don't see played quite as much anymore as the map pool is continuing to evolve, as it always does. However, because it's so well known and so many games have been played, casted, and observed on this map, it's one that it has a pretty stable metagame. It's got... you don't usually see tons of shenanigans or crazy things going on, as everyone knows kind of what to expect. You have a pretty narrow choke at the entrance of your natural. There's some rocks outside of that have destructible rocks to allow it to be a little bit more accessible. And it's got a pretty easy to take third. So the third here, once again, can make it pretty easy to defend because you're pretty close to all of your bases in terms of overall distance. One thing that you see abused quite frequently is this giant cliff on the outside of the main base. This is frequently used and abused by Reapers and Blink Stalkers in particular. So we'll be interested to see if that gets used at all. And also I just want to point out this third base is really hard to attack from up these ramps. Some of the hardest ramps to push up in all of StarCraft, because look at the size of the concave that you can get on units running up that ramp. So it's quite important to note how that works out. We have these two drones and probes here, kind of going at it and for quite some time. So now that I've been monologuing here for quite some time, Nibbling, why don't you give us a little bit of an overview of what's been going on here?
Well, it looks like our Zerg player's done a pretty standard fast expand, but unfortunately, and as he sees with his scouting overlord, we've got a fast expand out of Stefanovich as well, which means that he being Uncia is going to feel the pressure to put on that third base. Otherwise, he's not going to keep up economically. Zerg players need to have at least one base over Terran and Protoss opponents.
That's exactly true. You need to have that because to keep up on the worker production and to have units out, you need to have enough larvae. And then also, by the time you really want to start teching, because generally what happens is a two-basing Protoss player, they're pretty passive for a while because, let's see, they don't even have a gateway yet. It's being built. So at the very...
Right.
You've got at least another 40 seconds until a zealot could pop out. And that's just one. So you've got plenty of time to be a little bit passive on your own as well, and to use that time to drone up and then get the economy and the larva that you need to be able to be aggressive in the mid-game. So,
it should be interesting to see how that turns out. The cannon he threw down was able to fend off the scout, so the scout can't see the main anymore. But he's got good vision on the natural, which is where all the action seems to be going on, which is pretty typical of fast expand.
It's true. I'm actually kind of surprised he hasn't gotten closer to finishing that wall. Generally, when you do this type of play, you want to have a one-sized opening in your wall for a zealot to stand there, and that's not something we have here. I'm really surprised that Uncia has not actually taken both of the watchtowers. Okay, there goes that that third hatchery. One other thing that we wanted to point out, something that I just learned watching Day 9. I do indeed love watching Day 9. And he was talking a little bit about the ZVP matchup, actually, from his daily yesterday. And one of the things was the timing of this third base is if your opponent goes for speed, so you come in and you see the hatchery at the natural, and then you come in and you see a gas geyser and a spawning pool, and you see that it's resurging, which you can tell because it kind of shimmers and bubbles. you will know that that third base will go down right around 6 minutes. And I don't know if you saw it, but it went down at 6:11. So it's actually right on time. Both of these players doing quite well. And I'm kind of surprised here to see a little bit of early aggression from Stefanovich. So we'll see how this goes, as Unica really doesn't have anything to defend.
It's true. I think with the membership core that there was a gamble going on that he knew with the Overlord he saw second base that he would expand his third, and it was a correct guess. You get 3 queens to defend, but of course off of creep, I have quite time to do a lot.
It's true.
I'd push it off, but it's half health.
Yeah, I do think he needs to pull it back. He's not going to be able to micro that very well, but yeah. Was able to successfully push this little bit of aggression out. You know, one thing that's a lot more common right now is that you see the Protoss poking out. Now with the Mothership Core, you have the ability to go out and be aggressive, especially against Zerg, because like you said, Queens are really slow off creep, so as long as you're not doing something ridiculous in terms of positioning, you should be pretty much fine against Queens. And then it's a long time before they get Hydras or anything like that, or Mutas. So excellent job there, pushing that back. Good read on the metagame, trying to make something work. In the end, he did some damage to a hatchery and hurt a queen and then lost a zealot. So overall, it didn't really work out, but that doesn't mean it wasn't worth trying.
Truth. Looking here, they've got even amounts of workers, and we got 2 versus 3 base, so I'm really excited to see what happens next. As you put it, both really strong openings, economically speaking. This could be something that turns into a really hitting hard engagement, or a series of engagements. In other words, no early ending to this game.
It's true, it really could. One of the other things, generally, is if you have 2 base Protoss, you'll see an attack somewhere between 8, 9, or 10 minutes. Usually you'll see him moving out a little bit earlier. But the reason you see this one delayed is I spotted it earlier, was this Dark Templar Shrine. And you'll see that there is 2 Dark Templar in at the same time. Excellent job splitting up the Dark Templar, because now that means he needs to have Overseers in 2 places. He needs to micro away from 2 places at the same time. He is morphing in mini Overseers, but as of right now, there's almost nothing to attack a Dark Templar. He's simply trying to reduce the number of units lost. He's going to try and focus that down. Why is the... okay, the Overseers are in fact coming back around. They are able to get this round and get that done, but look at all the mining time that Unica has lost.
Absolutely. The income went down from about even with his opponent to less than half, and for any amount of time, that's very harmful.
And we have a large attack here over the time. He knew, as he had Dark Templar in his opponent's base, that there was simply not very much there to defend. Went in and decided to snipe that hatchery that he'd weakened previously, and I'd not be surprised to see him continuing to apply pressure here, as the army size from Unica is actually quite small. He invested into this infestation pit and the Spire here pretty early, but both of those things require a lot of gas, and he never really had the ability to do that. Now we do see Blink, it has been completed, and now there are Stalkers right here in the main. Some Roaches coming up to defend. I don't think there's enough Roaches to really counter this very effectively. Some excellent Blink micro. Check out the APM, as they're both here in this engagement. 276 APM out of Stefanovich for a moment there with all the Blink micro. He's trying to control those Roaches, but it looks like he's just going to be losing a whole bunch of these Overlords, and now he's actually going to be supply blocked.
It kills me. And the income again starting to take a hit. I don't think that Unica's income is going to ever exceed opponents if he keeps this Stalker pressure up.
It's true. The other really important thing is that all the tech being focus fired right now by Stefanovich, it's an excellent move, is making his opponent go all the way back to the beginning of the game. In fact, the pool is gone, so the only thing that he can build is drones. Actually, at this point, there's actually nothing else he can build.
Drones and Overlords.
That's unfortunate. We do see a counterattack coming out of Unica, as that's really his only option, as there's no way to really defend that. He's going to go back home. Does Stefanovich notice that? He does indeed, or he should indeed. He's going to try to focus down that cannon and then go straight for those probes.
Good job.
Oh.
No.
The recall.
Get the pylon, but recall.
Yeah, he
kills ya.
depowered a decent number of buildings, but most of those are not production buildings. So I do think that with 104 food to 28, I think we're going to see a pretty early end to this game as soon as these stalkers here at the very bottom of the map become active again.
It's true. That was quite a surprising turn, and all based around attack timing on Stefanovich. Well orchestrated.
It's true. It was an excellent move there with the early Dark Templar Shrine, and the excellent job pulling them off, and that distracted his opponent long enough for him to be able to really get some good damage done. These stalkers there are attempting to do a run-by, but it doesn't matter. They're simply imposing enough that Unica is going to head and throw down that GG. But it was an overall very interesting game. You don't generally see tons of Dark Templar, and I'd also like to point out that there weren't a ton used in the match. There was, I think, 3 morphed in the entire game.
You know, I like to see that, though, because sometimes I think that Dark Templar is like a spice. Far too many people overuse it when to do a good dish. You just need a couple. And where he split them up per base, it killed his opponent's income for almost a full minute. And then taking away the high-tech buildings, didn't stand a chance.
You know, that's exactly right. The other thing is, you know, just talking about Dark Templar again, a lot of people will send Dark Templar to one base because they want to kill all the workers there.
Sure.
What that ends up doing is it's a lot easier to defend because you know where all of them are, and most people are fairly decent at multitasking. When you have your base and your macro, you're in your own base, and all of a sudden you have an alert going off, and you know, oh, it's over here somewhere. But if they have them going off all over their base, that's usually too much for most players, particularly in the lower leagues, to be able to deal with. So, pro tip, if you're using Dark Templar, scatter them out far enough that their opponent needs to have multiple detectors. So that works against Protoss, against Zerg, and against Terran.
Couldn't agree more.
So excellent job there from Stefanovich. And it looks like he's going to go up 1-0 here in this matchup. But remember, this is a best of 5, so we still have at least 2 or 3 more games left. So we're going to be right back here in a moment with Game 2.